Welcome back to the show, my friends. Are you starting to feel a little bit shaky with all the talk of the economy? Are you starting to feel like maybe you're heading into some trouble and the world's all falling apart? Well, don't you worry. I've got a podcast for you. Today, I'm speaking with my very good friend, Mr. Andre Garzon, a coach with a vast amount of experience in this world in helping businesses of different sizes scale up. Now, he's Australia's #1 construction business coach, working with 7- and 8-figure companies to help them to manage their cash flow, manage their tax, manage their hiring, manage their systems, and create a more sustainable and profitable business. And he's here today to help us to use those same techniques in smaller 1 to 10 person coaching businesses to navigate the rocky waters of an unstable economy. So we're talking about very, very tangible banking and finance tips. We're talking about hiring. We're talking about the mindset you need to create success in this space and get through turbulent times. I think you're really going to enjoy this one. I love Andrez to bits. Great podcast. So here he is. Let's get into it. Andrez Garzon on Coaches to the Moon.
This is Coaches to the Moon, the only podcast you need to skyrocket your coaching business and create true impact on the world. Here's your host, Alex Morris.
Welcome back to the Coaches to the Moon podcast, ladies and gentlemen, back from a couple weeks of break, and I'm taking it back to an earlier guest, a very good friend and client of mine, Mr. Andre Garzon, CEO of Business House Group, and dare I say, Australia's #1 construction business coach. He's got some great tips about time, team, and money, about cash flow, about managing your business in a way that maybe you wouldn't expect as a small business owner. He knows the deal. Here he is, straight out of Sydney, Mr. Andrez Garzon. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Alex. Great to be in this scenario here with us again today. We're again in a podcast. Really enjoy it.
It's great to have you on, man. And the scenario is exactly, we're just always just trying to do our best, whatever scenario we're in, right?
That's right.
Yeah, man. How is running a business treating you and your wife, who always runs a coaching business? How's it treating you with the young kid and everything like that? You pulling through?
This year's been very interesting. Not only for us, also for all of our companies and all of our clients. I think that the message right from the beginning of the year is that, okay, this year we need to navigate a bit different because the landscape in business is different. Therefore, we just need to pay special attention to certain parts of the business. One of those, making sure that the money is in the right place. And so we've been paying special attention to making sure that financially our businesses are doing well, that we're doing well, that our clients are doing well, and that we're paying attention to the things that lead to the money being in the right place. So we're doing well. However, it has been a different year for everybody.
That's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on, because I feel like there's a difference between, you're running a business out there in the world with construction companies, with small to medium businesses, people who are kind of out there in the trenches every day. A lot of people in the coaching community, to be honest, a lot of people are just selling to each other. It's a bit of an insular community, the coaching and sort of marketing space. And so we don't often take our heads out of the sand and look at what's going on in the world. And so when we start talking about shaky economies and interest rates and recessions and stuff like that, I don't think many of us actually know what's going on too much. And so this is where we need people like yourself who understand the world of money, the world of business, to have a chat about it. So let's dig into that in just a minute. But I want to get some context on who you are. So you were working in the space of business coaching for quite a long time. You started off with Action Coach, and then you started Business House Group. How long was it when you were just kind of how long was it in business before we met?
So I've been in business now for around 22 years. I joined Action Coach because I had a business, and it was construction related, and I needed some help. I really had no idea how to structure the business for growth, how to recruit people, how to set up systems, how to grow strategically, and so I needed some help. And I started working with the guys at Action Coach, and I was in their sales department for a few years. Then I moved into the coaching department for like maybe another 6 years after that. And so together, by the time that I met you, I've been in the coaching space for around 17 years, but in business for 22 years.
Righto, sweet. And so when you were running the coaching business house group, you had quite a range of clients to start off with, I believe.
Yes. So coaching multiple industries, from health industry to hospitality to fitness, construction, technology, fashion, and so I've worked with a wide and diverse range of industries in the country.
Well, I can tell the fashion industry left its mark on you. You always look fantastic, always well groomed, and I always feel a little bit unpolished when I'm talking to you, Andrez, because I'm here in my t-shirt and my cargo shorts.
Nobody can see the shorts right now. It's good, right?
I can wear whatever I want under here. No one needs to know. Awesome. So you went from a wide range of industries in business coaching, and then when we met, I kind of did what I often do as a marketer, which is like, okay, you can help a lot of people, but we need to market to one industry. We need to niche down a little bit, niche down your message. And so I remember saying, like, what's the industry you have the most success with and you like working with the most? And you said construction. And now kind of 2 years later, I dare say you're the best, or the highest sought out construction business coach in Australia, which is awesome. You've got just lines and lines of people waiting to work with you. When you did decide to focus primarily on construction, what sort of benefits did you see when it came to tailoring your offers and your message to one industry and the unique problems that they've got, as opposed to trying to market to and help a wide range of industries?
When I started getting more and more involved with construction, one of the things that started becoming more apparent was that there's power in not only the coaching and mentoring that you can work with a client. What I hear from a lot of clients when they start working with me is that, look, I've worked with a coach before, but they would ask me lots of questions, right? But they wouldn't provide a lot of resources. And so when we're talking about resources, building a strong network of people that are there to assist our clients, that's very powerful. When you have a team of people around you that are focused on your vision, this becomes an extremely powerful effect because it accelerates your results. So, I've been building a solid network of commercial accountants that work specifically in the construction industry, bookkeeping firms that work for construction companies, supplier companies that supply to construction, consultants that provide assistance with home warranty insurance and other types of insurance, brokers, all types of people that are around the construction industry. And so when a client has an issue, yes, we work on the coaching part, we work on the mentoring part. However, we also work in, well, how about if you contact this person and they can help you with that? And that helps us to accelerate the results. So that's one of the main benefits that being centric in one industry has brought about. And it also has accelerated our results because it means that message keeps on getting out there to people in the construction industry, as in, hey, these are the guys that you go to if you really want to have a solid, successful business in the construction industry.
Really interesting to mention the kind of network building element of it, because that's something that I don't think people really think about too much. It's like, okay, what can my program offer? My intellectual property, my ebooks and courses and everything. But when it comes to just knowing that if a client's having a problem with something that you can't directly help with, just putting them in a 3-way email with a mate, instantly their problem's getting solved. And that's really exciting. So that's, I think that's something I'd like to do more of, to be honest. But I try to. I feel like you need a video, I can get you a videographer, that sort of thing. But, you know, so that's really, really cool. And then in terms of the messaging part of it, you're right. We've seen the way that Facebook ads work these days in marketing, it kind of learns and then steamrolls a little bit. So at the beginning, you're saying, okay, I work in construction, and you're seeing a few random leads coming here and there. And then now, whenever we turn something on for you, all the leads coming through, like 90% of them seem to be coming from construction, development, trade, industries. And you're starting to, you know, what's the word? Cementing yourself, to use the pun, as the go-to guy in the industry. And the marketing learns, and then people refer, and it's really, really cool to see, man. It doesn't mean you can't work with other industries. It just means that your message is there as you are the go-to guy in construction.
Absolutely. And look, we have other team members, other coaches that focus on other industries, but I choose to stay very centric to construction. And I mean, look, within construction, there are so many areas as well. You know, we have manufacturing, we have trades, we have property development, we have builders, and so, you know, there are so many areas within construction anyhow. And look, in saying that, I think it's also one of the reasons why your company and mine gel so well together, because I find that I get that from you as well. We can't be strong at everything. You know the areas that I'm not as strong at. And what I always see you doing is that you're looking from a marketing perspective at what can I do to improve Business House Group's marketing. And so that is really powerful to us as well.
Well, thank you. I didn't come on here for a testimonial, but we'll take it, man.
There you go. Done.
We all have our strengths, you know. I've got to pin you down to film some videos sometimes, but you definitely know about accounting and cash flow. So that's it's good to know, but good to be self-aware, right? But you know, we're going to get content out of this, so thank goodness we made a time. A couple of reschedules and Andrez's part, but we won't talk about that today.
And we always get there in the end.
We do. So what I think is interesting about what you do is that we look at some of the businesses that you work with and you're coaching, and you're mentioning some big numbers. They're doing like multi-7 figures a year, sometimes even 8 figures a year, these people. Most people listening to this podcast that I work with are working, you know, in that sort of 6 to multi-6 figure range, sometimes kicking over to the 7s, but not heaps of them. And it's interesting to see the differences and the similarities between running a big business and running a small business. And the 3 things you talk about are time, team, and money, which are elements that exist in a very small business and a very large business. So I was hoping we could go through a little bit of team, a little bit of time, a little bit of money today. That sound okay?
Absolutely. Sounds great.
Awesome. I think money is going to be the biggest conversation, so we'll get to that later. But team is one I'm always interested in, because it can be an intimidating thing for newer entrepreneurs who are used to working by themselves. I know you have a small and growing team. So in your opinion, as someone who's both hired a lot of people and helped other businesses with their hiring process, what are the most important traits to look for when hiring someone in a small team of sort of, you know, 1 to 5 people?
Okay. Most smaller type of companies, so we're talking about, let's say 5 employees or 10 employees, most of the time they're doing the recruitment from a reactive space. And what do I mean by that? They don't really have a plan for recruitment, as in these are the people that we need in the company. It's more like, okay, we've got this project, now we need these people. Let's go and look for someone and let's hire that position quickly. And we don't have that much money, so that person needs to come in and be producing very quickly as well. And so in a way, it's like they're setting themselves up for failure in a way, right? Because they haven't really given the attention that needs to be given to bring in the right people into your company. business is a team sport, and we can learn so much from sport. And if you notice how much attention goes in any professional sport into bringing the right team players on board, then you can see how important it is. So one of the things that is really, really important, and look, it doesn't cost you money, it's an investment of your time. So when you see yourself as the business owner and you're saying, well, the way for me to grow this company is to do it through the right team. So now you look at, I usually work with clients and say, okay, let's look at what are your main strengths that you bring to your business. So like, what's your genius that if we had you doing that all of the time, it would cause for your business to completely like just go really greatly, strongly in growth, right? I get them to describe that genius and we take notes on it. Then I also tell them like, what are you really weak at? And I use other words that I won't use in this podcast, but you know, like what are your weaknesses, right? And let's describe those as well. And you find that with a lot of smaller teams, the owners are doing both what they're good at and what they're not good at, which now creates a problem because they're doing stuff that they don't like to do and they're not particularly good at. So we need to get that map. What are you good at? What are you not good at? Second thing, what does your team need to look like in the next milestone of success? So what does success look like and what does the team look like? For example, look, if my team was successful, I would have someone doing the estimating or quotes for me. I would have someone doing the contracts administration for me. I would have someone doing the administrative parts for me, the administrative role, right? And then I would focus on, let's say, going and networking with the larger type of clients that we're going to get great projects from. And so now with that in mind, now we can now start looking at, okay, how do we recruit people that would fit in those roles and perform best at that? Now, look, we'll come to the money question because a lot of people get stuck in the money part as in, oh, well, we cannot afford that at the moment, right? But the thing is that if you don't look at the map first, as in this is what it needs to look like, because if you see that, now we can start asking about the money questions, right? But first is looking at the map, and then we need a recruitment system that actually allows us to see that the people you got to put in that place are strong at that. The amount of times that I hear it, Alex, like, oh yeah, I hired this admin person because she was unemployed and she's the friend of she's the wife of my friend, or she's the cousin of my cousin or whatever. And it's like, what? So you just hired someone, but you didn't actually look at whether that person fits the skill set that we need or not, right? And so these are some really important things, right? Be proactive about it, so not reactive. Be ahead of that game, and then have a system in place, as in you need to guard your company. Who are the people that are coming to play in your team? You know, if you're building an A team, you need A players. You need that grade of players. And the other thing as well is that along the way, we need to build a company that the right players want to come and play in. If you're building a business, but you know you want these amazing players, but your business is not to that level yet, well, they're not going to be attracted to it. The amount of talent that we have out there is massive, massive pools of talent. However, they also want to work for a company that deserves them, right? So we want to build a business that deserves to have that talent on board.
Wow. Lots to unpack and lots to remember, but the reactive versus proactive hiring thing is probably something really, really important to the coaches out there at the beginning of that journey. Because, I mean, you've seen it yourself. We've all seen it. It's like coaches are generally good at the delivery part of it. That's where they're there for, to coach people. Some of them are really good at the sales part because they believe so much in their product. Some are really good at the content creation part. But they get to that point where they realize that one of them is not working. They're stuck like this. And so that's when they go out and they kind of just they hire the first person they can find to do some sales for them, and they bring on a virtual assistant who's maybe not trained in that area, and say, okay, this person's cheap to run, so we'll put them into this position and train them up. But I've done that. It's costing you way more to try and train them up and then lose sales, rather than just putting in a hiring plan, taking your time and finding the right person for the job. But it's not always easy, right? At the beginning, you've got to figure it out and go through some bad hires before you get to all the good ones, right?
Yes. Look, if we approach things not from a place of it's easy or hard, but more of it needs to get done, and it needs to get done well. I mean, you've seen me recruiting people when it comes to marketing, and you've seen the process that I go to. You've seen how many things we put in place and how many tests we have in place. And you've seen it also. We failed and succeeded, right? And until we find the right fit. But when we have the right fit, when we have the right team working, it's powerful, right? We look at the effect that it brings about and the results that we get. So it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, well, my sales team has been, the first couple months of my sales team were really high turnover, just from people having to go and not being bad at their job, it's not being right for what we do. And that's an interesting thing as well. It doesn't mean that someone's bad at, like you said, admin or accounting or quotes or contracts or whatever. Maybe it is not right for your specific company.
That's it.
Yeah. And I think it's really tough to know what your company is when it's only ever just been you as well. So, I mean, if I may ask, what does your team look like at the moment?
We have 5 people here locally. Yeah. We have another 6 people that are working in other countries, in the other regions, mainly the Philippines. And so they do more administrative type of work for our clients and also for our company. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? So it's a relatively small team, right? And we're growing that team now as well. So we're in the stages of growth. However, every person that we have brought on board has gone through our recruitment system, and to make sure that not only are they a fit from the skill set that they need to have, they're also from a culture perspective that they're also fit. So, when putting together the culture, and, this message goes out to the coaches and also business owners, if you ask yourself the question, or if you ask your clients, like, what's most important to you about your business, right? Just write down the top 5 things that come to mind. What we're doing there is what was called eliciting the values, the things that are important to us. And if, for example, let's say, the things that come to mind is growth, learning, transparency, commitment, whatever comes up, these are the personality traits that you also need to make sure that you have in your recruitment system for the people that are coming in. Because it's not just about fitting from a skill perspective, it's also about culturally fitting well together, right? And if you want to get more knowledge about that, probably the best guy in the world that I've seen is Tony Shea from Zappos. So you can read his book or listen to it, Delivering Happiness. Super, super powerful in relation to culture and team building.
What's up, guys? Alex here. If you're enjoying the episode, please don't forget to give us a subscribe on whatever channel or platform you're watching or listening to this. Really helps us to make an amazing show every week. Thank you so much. Back to the episode. That is interesting. That's something we've talked about a lot on this podcast in the last few weeks with kind of more mental fitness coaches and mental health coaches in terms of workplace culture when everyone's working remotely and how to keep that going. And we've learned a lot about it recently. And, you yourself, you've said you've got 6 people working overseas. Myself, I also have a bunch of people working overseas. And it's tough to keep everyone excited, right? When they're all sitting in their own bedrooms with their own problems going on just on the other side of the camera there.
Exactly.
but it's really, I think just being aware of it, being aware and just doing your best is the main thing. And just the intention to make a good environment for your team, be they local or remote, is an important thing. We're not always going to get it right. So money, Andre Garzon, and this is something that we talk about a lot. A lot of your best marketing campaigns have been around money, cash flow, and noticing that in your industry, these builders, these construction business owners, a lot of them get into it because they're great at construction. They're great on the tools, and then they find themselves running a big business with a bunch of employees, a bunch of different jobs doing at the same time, money in, money out, suppliers, credit, like become tax, all sorts of stuff. Superannuation becomes a bit of a nightmare. Basically, cash flow management is something that we, as smaller businesses, and I'll keep relating your big businesses back to our smaller businesses, we often kind of have misconceptions about cash flow management. A lot of people are using their business account as their personal account. They kind of just, money comes in and they spend it. And some people really, really struggle because of that. They can be doing well, and then suddenly they get a bill and their account's dry and they don't have any recurring money coming in. Happens all the time. It's happened to me many times. What are some of the common mistakes and sort of misconceptions that you see smaller business owners going through when it comes to managing their cash flow, and how would you help them to overcome those challenges when they happen?
All right. That's a great question. And what's also great about it is that it can be, right, if your mindset's in the right place, it can be relatively straightforward to turn it around. Now, as you mentioned, starting businesses, one of the big mistakes that they do is that they're centralizing everything in one bank account, right? So all the money comes in and goes out of that. And sometimes they're using even like personal money from there. So that's one of the things, right? That first, you cannot run your business from a bank account. That can lead to emotional disasters, because if there's money in there, you feel good. Hey, I've got all this money in the bank account. If the bank account goes low, suddenly you're feeling all sad and it's like, what's going on here, right? And so you're now emotionally attached to the bank balance of a bank account. A bank account cannot tell you how your business is performing. And so you need a system that can tell you your cash movements, not from the past. Because when you see your accountant or a bookkeeper, they can show you, hey, this is what's happened in the past. As a business owner, you need to develop the skill and have the system that can show you what's expected to happen in the future, at least 3 months into the future. So for most businesses that are builders or trades, we have a 3-month forecast into the future. For businesses in manufacturing or property development, we go 12 months forecast into the future. Now, what you want to do is you want to have a system of at least 3 bank accounts. One of them is what we call your trading account. So money goes out of there. Anything relating to operating the business goes in there and out of there. Second, you need a tax account. The number one reason why business owners are not getting rich in this wonderful country is because they get caught up in a tax loop. They receive money in their trading account. They don't distinguish that, hey, part of that is not mine. It belongs to the ATO, right? If I'm paying wages, there's already tax liability. If I receive GST, there's already tax liability. So they go and spend this money. They hand over the responsibility of the business activity statement to their accountant, which calls them in a couple of months' time and says, hey, you've got a tax bill. They somehow sound happy about it because they're doing their job, right? So, hey, you got a tax bill for 25K or 30K or whatever the figure may be. And then now the owner's like, what? And it's like now they go again in their emotional downswing and now they go and call the ATO and say, hey, can we have a payment arrangement? From that moment onwards, you're now working for the ATO. You're no longer your own boss, right? So in order to get rid of this system, you need a tax account. And then once you have your forecast with that, it means anytime you generate a tax liability, you put it in there. You prepay your tax, not to the ATO, but to your tax account. The third account is a profit account. There's a universal law, which we call the law of vacuum, which says that whatever we create space for in the universe, it will be filled in. but we need to create the space for something to fill it in. And so if people are not creating space for profits, they're not going to be able to monetize their profits. The amount of people that I see, and look, we're not talking about just 6-figure businesses. I see sometimes 7, 8-figure businesses that they just didn't have a system to monetize their profits. And so when we teach them how to structure it that way, it means they start pulling profits from their trading environment into a separate environment. It's still within the company, but now it's been pulled into a separate environment. So those 3 accounts are super powerful. And then any personal expense, like, all of our clients, including myself, I'm on a wage from my business. So I just receive my wage on a fortnightly basis, and that's it. My company profits are my company profits. They're separate. But the other one is just my wage, and I have to live with that.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I find myself saying to my wife, like, yeah, I'm going to go and ask my accountant if I can increase my wages, that sort of thing. Like, why don't you just do it? Well, it doesn't work like that. It's really weird, kind of working for yourself and then kind of begging yourself for money. It's a weird job, man. But that system you just outlined is awesome, because I've got the trading account, I've got the savings account, which is where, I just put as much as possible into that account. So when the tax bill comes, it stings, but it's there, and it's never fun. But the profit account is a very, very interesting one. That's a very, very good idea. Really good idea. The cash flow forecasting is also something I'm very interested in, because I'm sure people listening, like myself, have no idea how you would do that without too much nitty gritty. Is that something that you kind of automate in like a spreadsheet, or is there like a way of doing that would be explainable in a podcast situation?
Absolutely. Yeah, look, that template's available to everyone. So you can, feel free to share it with other people as well.
The cash flow template at Clean Cap.
Now, the idea is that there's a term called cash burn rate. That term is an investing term, and what it means is that every business burns through a certain amount of cash through a period of time in order to operate. Now, what we must add to that cash burn is wages, including wages for the owner, all taxation including any tax that we're expecting to pay on profits that the company is making, and all other expenses of the business. So over the next 3 months, everyone that's listening or watching this, your business is going to burn through a certain amount of cash, and you need to be able to quantify that figure, right? Now, also through the work that you do, through the services that you provide, there's going to be a certain amount of cash that comes into your business. So over 3 months, you have a total amount of cash in and a total amount of cash out. Once you can quantify that, you can put it into a spreadsheet. Our spreadsheet will show you all of the cash movements, cash in, cash out. Now, I'm going to say something which sounds very simple. However, it doesn't mean that it's easy, because you need to set up the structure. With our system, we're doing it as easy as possible for you, right? But the aim of the game is that you must be bringing more cash in than cash out. That's it, right? So when your business is bringing more cash in than cash out, it means that it's in a positive cash flow position. Now, the amount that's left over, let's say your business burns through $150,000 in 3 months, including taxes and everything. And let's say you bring in $200,000 in of cash. That means there's a $50,000 surplus. That surplus we call free cash flow. So as business owners, we not only need to think as a business owner, we need to think as an investor. My business is an investment, and it has to generate free cash flow every month. And so this is the way that you get to quantify your cash flow, your free cash flow that your business is generating. Now, I'm going to share again another very, very powerful thing here, which is if you want to get rid of any kind of emotional stress related to cash flow, because it's not about getting rid of problems. Life and business is a game of problems and solutions. but it's about getting rid of the stress, because most people are running from a space of scarcity. There's not enough. The sad reality, Alex, is that most businesses have about 3 weeks of cash flow available to them. If cash stops flowing into their business, they'll survive for another 3 weeks or so. So you can imagine psychologically what that does to a person. They're running in a space of fear, right? So what you want to do is you want to find out what your business cash burn is over a period of 3 months. And you need to generate enough cash flow, enough free cash flow to accumulate at least 3 months of cash burn in your profit account. Now, that profit account, that amount is actually not going to be touched. You only start now making a real profit in your profit account once you have 3 months of cash burn. Now, what this is going to do is psychologically, it's going to flick you from a space of fear to a space of success. Now, when you're playing success, you're playing a very different game. You play to win. You play to seize opportunities, and you see the opportunities in the environment. When you're playing from fear, you're attracting more fear. You're attracting more of the situations that will bring that. So this is how, you probably can sense that I love the game, right? And, after knowing me for 2 years, you know that as well. And so when I help clients to get to that space where they're playing from a space of, all right, it's a game and we can win, and this is how we win, the game changes, well, then life changes.
Dude, just tangible.
I went a bit too long with that answer, man, but I hope it's helpful.
Not at all. Far out. What? It just brings you back to things you don't think about, because, like, what's his name? Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He always says that wealth is how much time you can spend without working before your money runs out. And he's like, my wealth will never run out because I will always have enough money coming in. And then you look at it as a person, you're like, okay, maybe we got a few weeks or a few months. That's awesome. For a business, definitely not something that I've done, and definitely not something that, I come from the hospitality industry. That's why so many restaurants closed down week 2 of the pandemic. They didn't have, it's all just a complete hamster wheel in restaurants, and 3 weeks of cash flow makes complete sense. And that's a scary thing. So I think we're going to have a little chat after this one, Andrez, about setting up and going through that clean cash flow system for me, because really good stuff to know about, especially you and me now. You've got 11 staff relying on you, right? Me too. Like, it's when you got a team, it's other people's kids eating off the success of your business.
Absolutely. With families, and that's a really good way to look at it as well, because it gives you even more of a sense of, hey, you know what? I have families that are relying on the work that we're doing, and so it's not just about the vision that we're doing as a company. It's also making sure that everyone's all right.
Yeah, no, it's really important. It's a scary thing, but also a very gratifying thing to know that, one of your team buy something that they wanted, that you kind of help them to do that, which is really nice.
Absolutely.
There was something, the profit thing. Oh yeah, no, what you said in there also was you can't connect emotion to your bank account. You can't connect the success of your business to how much money is in the bank. And I don't know if you've ever read it. Have you read the story Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, who started Nike?
I love that book, man.
How stressful is that book, right? So for those listening, what this guy did when he was starting Nike, and I've told this story on the podcast before because it always makes me feel better. Basically, he had to take out a loan from the bank every month, basically, that he couldn't afford, to pay his shoe supplier. And then the shoes had to come in from overseas. He had to wait till they got there and then quickly sell them all at a profit to then pay the bank back and then do it again every month. So he's back to zero constantly. And then he'd take out a bigger loan. And the way he grew that business was by just going to zero every month. And so stressful to listen to, but always makes me feel a little better, because that game, that amount of risk was terrifying, but he's still there. He still existed. He didn't die, like it's just money out, money in. There's always a way to get more money. But that game of, what do you think about that strategy that he's doing? If he came to you and you're his business coach and he's like, Andrez, my name's Phil Knight. I'm starting Nike. I need your help because every month I go to zero. What would you say? How would you help him?
It's such an interesting question because I love the book. And also by him telling the story, it shows you how much we have progressed as a global community in relation to venture capital, private equity, and the banking industry itself. Like the issues he was having is that he was literally doubling business every year. But his bankers were telling him, hey, slow down, because you always bring your bank account balance back to zero. And we need you to accumulate some cash. And he wanted to keep on growing, right? And in so many cases from the book, it says the business was demanding to grow because people wanted more and more of these shoes, and he couldn't get enough shoes. So, not many businesses get to experience that environment where you have so many customers knocking at your door that you don't have enough money to serve those customers. So what a great, right, position to be in. Going back to your question, I think that he did the steps that I would have recommended anyhow, right? He went in, he sold some shares of the company. He continued to build relationships with suppliers. The alliances that he made to fund him were powerful because in that case, when the banks were shutting him down, they just came and paid out the loans, and then they went to other banks. The thing that I think he was always thinking, like, in the initial stages, he was like a month ahead. He just needed to know what was coming in 1 month and going out. So I would have said, hey, let's expand that to 3 months or 12 months, right? If we have a 12-month forecast, then my approach would have been, let's go straight away for the big money. Because if we go for the bigger money, we can show the sales. What we need to do is connect with an aggressive investor. He was surrounded by people that were conservative, which is a good thing, right? There's a place for everything. However, if you look at someone, let's say like the Adam Newman, the guy from WeWork, he was very smart at aiming for the big money. He looked for people that had billions of dollars, and he just made connections with them. That was the channel he wanted to get with, because that accelerated. At one stage, he was looking at opening 100 offices in China in 1 year. I mean, look at the level of growth from that, right? And raising $11 billion to build WeWork. So, and most of that from one investor. So I think that's where I would have played the game with him. Let's go into a bigger picture and because, and look, that it does beg the question, was he also in a way like addicted to that pressure? Because he seemed to perform very well under enormous amounts of pressure. So that's how I would handle that, Alex.
I love it. I'm glad we get to ask that question. So he's doing some things right, but you just you bring him back a little bit and say, let's look ahead a little bit. Let's stop, get off the hamster wheel. Before I ask my last question, I've hurt my ankle and I'm standing up. So I'm just going to put my desk down. So we'll cut this bit out of the podcast.
Are you okay, man? What happened to your ankle?
I'm good. Basically, like, before we went to Fiji, I was exercising quite a lot, and I hurt my knee. And then but I always hurt my knee. But I think I was overcompensating on my foot to keep my knee better, because I've hurt my knee a lot of times in the past.
Right.
And so basically it's sort of really, really sore ankle. I think just from when I was exercising, just overcompensating and just kind of putting more pressure on that joint without realizing it. So I'm good. I just realized I was standing up for 45 minutes in one spot. Again, starting to get a bit sore. So here we are in the chair. All right. For my last question for you, Andrez, because you've given us just bombs today, bombs of knowledge. We're hearing stuff, like we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, we're hearing stuff about shaky economies, rising rates, and all these grown-up terms like recession, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you've been thinking about this with your family and with your clients. As small business owners, are there any steps that we can take to prepare for the impact on how people buy, on how people spend their money, and how we should look after our own money? You've already touched on how we should, I suppose you've already touched on looking after our own money. So for the podcast clip, I'll ask it again. As business owners going into a shaky economy,
Yes.
what are some steps we can take to prepare for the impact that maybe customers will be spending less money over the next couple of years?
Okay. Look, I'm going to start first by suggesting a book. The name of the book is Psychology of Money. And psychology is important because the way we're feeling about something impacts so much about our behavior, right? So I'm going to give a couple of things. Number one, first, zoom out. Zoom out. You know, if you're younger than 35, there are lots of things that you haven't seen yet. And if you haven't been in business, if you've been in business for less than 15 to 20 years, again, lots of things that you haven't seen. So zoom out and understand that the things that are happening are completely normal within economic terms. You know, I've been in business a little bit longer, so I've seen the recession of 91. I've seen the GFC. I've seen the pandemic. I've seen all these events that they just give you more experience in relation to how you deal with these situations. Yeah. So zoom out, okay, and see that, okay, this is actually completely normal within the space of business and economy. Then zoom back in. Yeah. Zoom back in. You need to know what success looks like for your business, whatever business you're in. Now, success, let's go back to the team, time, and money, right? We're talking about, you know, all this economic time of, uncertainty. So the money bit is really important as well, right? So success from a money perspective, how much does your business need to be generating in profit on a monthly basis? How much does it need to be generating on a yearly basis? Make sure your taxes are put into your tax account. So be clear about that picture. And then really, really important right now, and I think this is important as well, and is good for you, because right now is a really important time to pay attention to your marketing. So what happens is that I'll give a little bit of background in construction. I'm speaking with so many people that are calling me nowadays. I've spoken to hundreds of them this year alone. And when I start speaking with them, they're still treating their marketing as if we were 5 years ago. There was these expectations from customers 5 years ago that a builder should charge a 10% or a 15% on the cost of the job. That was 5 years ago. We're in a completely different environment right now, which means that you need to have healthier margins. Healthier margins. How do you have healthier margins though? You need a strong marketing team or marketing plan. So you need to be working on a marketing plan because it's about educating your customers, not only on your services, but also why should they choose you and why should they choose your prices. So all of our clients in construction are charging above industry range for margins, right? However, they'll have, like our builders, they're booked out for the next 2 years of projects. Why? Because right now, let's say it's a really bad decision to go for the cheapest builder right now. You could start a project, these guys could be out of business in 6 months because they're not charging enough money. And so now they're not doing anyone favors. So going for the cheapest right now is a real bad mistake, dangerous position. So protect your margins and work either with someone who's great at marketing or have your own marketing team. Make sure that you're focusing on the right customers that are willing to pay the right amounts because they're focused on the quality they're getting. Yeah, and also getting a fair price. Money is important to everyone, but it's not about dropping your charges or being the cheapest right now. That's a really dangerous game to play right now. So that's some advice right
What a refreshing thing to hear, I suppose. Like, I imagine a lot of people would just be like, I wasn't sure where you were going when you said what builders are charging their margins, 10 to 15%. I've never had someone build a house for me, so I didn't know what that was. And I wasn't sure, is he going to go up or down? And I'm glad you went up, because a lot of the people I listen to will say the same sort of thing. When my coaches come to me and my clients who are coaches and they say, what should I charge for my program, that sort of thing, if they're building a new program with us, I say, like, basically as much as you can, and then just make it awesome. As much as you can, make it awesome, and then just don't be desperate to bring over every single sale, because it's the small jobs that always get you the most awkward customers. And if you stick to your guns and keep your prices where your business works,
yes,
it's incredible how much money goes out of a business, right? Even if you're charging a healthy amount of money for what you do, it's incredible how quickly it's gone when there's staff, tax, team, everything you've talked about. So that's really cool, man. Make yourself the best, increase your margins, make sure your business is still here after 2 years, I suppose.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's right.
I like to I use the phrase zoom out a lot with my clients when it comes to marketing, because some of them who haven't done much of it before, you know, they'll say, like you said, they're not as experienced in marketing. They'll say, oh, we had a bad week of leads, not enough leads this week. And it's like, well, zoom out, and it's gone like this the whole time. It's been slowly ticking upwards the whole time. And I often send them a Bitcoin chart, and it's like, if you look at Bitcoin over the last couple of years, it's just been like up and down. Looks like a roller coaster. But if you zoom out, it's just a constant up until like last year. But still, even now, it's like, it started off at like 1 cent, that sort of thing. So just zoom me out. And it's also refreshing to hear that all these economic things are normal, because the 91 crash could have been, I was born in 91. I'm not saying I had anything to do with it. But
all your fault, then.
It could have been. It could have been. It's definitely on the table. You know, is it a coincidence? Who knows? The impact I can have on the world. But Andrez, mate, what an incredibly useful podcast today. That is what we want. Tangible advice people can just take home and use. And you said that the cash flow template, we can just give that to everyone listening, yeah?
Absolutely. Anyone that wants it is there. Or you can share it with them.
Awesome. And you're running free masterclasses as well for people who want to learn how to use it.
Absolutely. So if anyone wants to be connected, please make that available, Alex. So we're running free masterclasses so we can show them how to utilize it. And if you're winning, you know, going back to what you're saying about Robert Kiyosaki, like the game he created is called cash flow. Now, this guy owns over 10,000 investment properties. It's someone we should listen to, right? And so cash flow is the ultimate way to continue growing your business. So yeah, that template is super powerful, and we have those complimentary master sessions.
You're the man, Andrez. You're the absolute man. I got to say, I love working with you. I'm working with your wife, Virginia, now. I love working with her as well. You're an absolute power couple, and you're a pleasure to have around. So thank you for being on the show today, brother.
Thank you so much, brother. Great to see you, and looking forward to the next one.
Awesome. Well, speaking of the next one, I'll be back in 2 days. We're now doing 2 episodes a week. I'll be back on Thursday with another episode of Coaches to the Moon. So if you're listening on the live or the recording, I love you for that. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Much love and peace out.
Coaches to the Moon will be back next week. Until then, reach us on Facebook at To The Moon Digital Marketing.